has 60% of the world's arable land. As a result of these developments, Africa's middle class is now growing rapidly, and the continent has become a major market for consumer goods. Despite the good news, poverty remains a scourge on the continent, which every day the majority of our citizens face, and which we must eradicate. In 2013, at the Golden Jubilee of the Organization of African Unity, now the African Union, the AU's Agenda 2063 was unveiled as the continent's socio-economic development blueprint. Among others, Agenda 2063 aspires to a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. It also seeks an integrated continent, politically united and based on the ideals of Pan-Africanism and the vision of Africa's Renaissance. The integration of the continent is a key priority which is being advanced through the three-pillar approach. These are market integration through the establishment of the Continental Free Trade Area, as well as industrial and infrastructure development. Aligned to the Continental Free Trade Area is the Tripartite Free Trade Area, which brings together 26 African countries within SADC, East African Community, and COMESA. It provides an integrated market with a combined population of 600 million people and a GDP of $1 trillion and a long-term GDP growth rate in excess of 5%. With regards to the second pillar, infrastructure development, an intensive work program for infrastructure development across the continent is underway. This includes the AU program for infrastructure development in Africa, the SADC Regional Infrastructure Development Master Plan, and the Presidential Infrastructure Championing Initiative, with the flagship program being the North-South Corridor. Arguably, the third pillar of industrial development is the area where considerable attention is required. Industrial development is the key to exports and economic diversification. In South Africa, we produce an annual industrial policy action plan to ensure focus on industrialization. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to ensure that the work done at this business forum contributes to economic development and that it is not lost. During our deliberations, we will seek to advance the interventions that you, our captains of industry, have identified as being critical towards creating an environment that is conducive towards the needs of business. These include the following: improving industrial production capabilities, establishment of special economic zones, industrial parks, and technology parks, increased technology transfer and skills development, beneficiation at source, increased investment flows, market access expansion, diversification of the trade basket to include more value-added goods, and the expansion and integration of value chains across the continent. To further ensure that the work you have done is not lost, I would like to receive an exhaustive action plan in due course. Business leaders, congratulations on your successful first FOCAC Business Forum to be held in Africa. We wish you all the best, taking the projects and programs forward. I thank you.
Siyabonga, Mr. President. May I now, without any further ado, invite President Robert Mugabe, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, and also the Chair of the African Union, to give his remarks. President Mugabe, thank you.
Your Excellencies and co-chairmen, President Jacob Zuma and President Xi Jinping, Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, Your Excellency Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Honorable Ministers, African and Chinese business representatives, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends. I would like to thank Dr. Rob Davies, the Minister of Trade and Industry of South Africa, and Dr. Gao Huncheng, Minister of Commerce of the People's Republic of China, for co-hosting the 5th FOCAC Business Forum and for the guided tour of the China-Africa Equipment and Manufacturing Industry Exhibition. Let me also express our appreciation to the business communities of both Africa and the People's Republic of China for the excellent displays of various ranges of products and equipment. I appreciated that the whole thrust of this exhibition reinforces the ethos of industrialization, which is the focus of SADC, COMESA, East Africa Community, SADC, tripartite, and continental levels. It is also impressive and encouraging to note that member states have been linked and aligned to the strategies and roadmaps of regional economic communities and the African Union Agenda 2063. Co-chairmen, ladies and gentlemen, what we have just witnessed is a clear testimony of the tremendous efforts towards prioritizing value addition and beneficiation of our natural resources and agricultural products. Such efforts are aimed at boosting intra-African trade as well as trade with other countries within the South-South and North-South regions. Let me emphasize that industrialization is not an end in itself, but should be complemented by trade. In this regard, we look forward to cooperating with China as Africa at the same time, and China at the same time seeks to improve the quality of its processed products. Co-chairmen, Africa and China need to work together to ensure that road, rail, air, power, and water infrastructures are put in place. In addition, equipment and appropriate technology offered by the Chinese will help us extract and process our abundant resources to the required specifications which meet international standards. We are happy to note that China is already demonstrating its commitment to help Africa achieve these noble objectives through its 3 networks and industrialization initiative. Dear colleagues, I wish to emphasize the importance of the private sector, itself an important cog in the industrialization process. Our governments should create enabling environments which promote networking, exchanging of ideas, and above all, the making of tangible deals that contribute towards boosting trade in a mutually beneficial manner. I thank you.
I would like to thank President Zuma and President Mugabe for your important address. Now I would like to invite His Excellency President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China to address the floor. We believe that his remark will chart the course for taking to a new level of trade cooperation between the two sides. Let us use our warmest applause to welcome His Excellency President Xi Jinping.
Your Excellency President Zuma, Your Excellency President Mugabe, Chairperson of the African Union, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency Madam Zuma, Chairperson of the AU Commission, distinguished guests, honorable ministers, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. It gives me great pleasure to meet all of you here in this beautiful city of Johannesburg. This forum, with the theme of China-Africa Cooperation for Common Development, catapulting the African industrialization renaissance, is highly relevant for the inclusive and the sustainable development of the African continent. Here, I wish to extend my warmest congratulations on the successful convocation of the forum and my heartfelt appreciation to friends of all sectors that have made contribution over the years to trade and economic cooperation between China and Africa. Though geographically far apart, China and Africa enjoy a long history of exchanges, and our friendship has stood the test of time. Today's Africa is brimming with vigor and vitality, and our business cooperation has reached unprecedented height. A large number of Chinese entrepreneurs have come to Africa for investment and business ventures, while more and more African friends are working and doing business in China. In Zhejiang, a province where I used to work, there is a small city called Yiwu. It is now well known as the world's capital of small commodities. Several thousand businessmen from Africa are based there, engaging in China-Africa trade. By the end of 2014, the total stock of Chinese investment in Africa had reached $101 billion, resulting in more than 3,100 Africa-based enterprises. Two-way trade between China and Africa reached $221.9 billion in 2014. China has become Africa's principal partner in such areas as trade, investment, infrastructure development, and economic cooperation parks. At present, the situation facing the world economy is complex and fluid. Developed countries are going through weak recovery, and the emerging markets have slowed down in their economic growth. There are now growing risks of uncertainty and instability in global economic growth. However, Africa, the continent that has more developing countries than any other, has distinguished itself as an economic bright spot in recent years. The security situation in Africa has been generally stable. Taking economic development as their central task, governments in Africa have formulated ambitious economic, industrial, and infrastructure development plans. The African continent has maintained an annual growth rate of nearly 5%, and Africa's vibrant industrialization and urbanization process has injected fresh dynamism into global economic growth and made it the fastest growing and the most promising continent in the world. Looking at the modern history of world economic development, as well as the experiences of China and many other countries, we can say for sure that industrialization is an inevitable path leading to a country's economic success. China has gone through a hard and tortuous journey of industrialization for the past century and a half. Back in the mid-19th century, the overwhelming military might of foreign powers forced China to open its door and begin what was called self-strengthening movement in the early form of industrialization. Since the beginning of reform and opening up 37 years ago, China has embarked on a fast track of industrialization. Within a short span of several decades, China has accomplished what took developed countries hundreds of years to accomplish, and put in place a complete industrial system with enormous production capacity. by becoming the world's largest manufacturing country and the second largest economy, China has testified to the success of its exploration for an industrialization path suited to its national conditions. Looking at China's journey of industrialization, we have keenly recognized that industrialization cannot be achieved behind closed doors. Industrialization in the age of economic globalization requires that we take full advantage of both domestic and international markets and both home and overseas resources, put our comparative advantages to the best use, and realize the global allocation of resources. What is more, we should draw on as much as possible the experience of advanced countries and choose an industrialization path suited to our national features and conditions. It is entirely possible for Africa, as the world's most promising region in terms of development potential, to bring into play its advantages and achieve great success. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, the achievement of inclusive and sustainable development in Africa hinges on industrialization. And industrialization also holds the key to creating jobs, eradicating poverty, and improving people's living standards. Africa's path of industrialization can only be found by African people through their own practice and exploration. It is China's sincere hope to share its experience with African countries. And we are willing to provide capital, technology, and personnel in support of African industrialization. In the areas of infrastructure building, investment, and trade facilitation, China-Africa cooperation will create more investment and trade opportunities for companies of the two sides, thus enhancing the competitiveness of African industries and closing the infrastructure gap in Africa. In the fields of modern agriculture, green development, poverty reduction, and people's welfare, China-Africa cooperation will enable companies from the two sides to share advanced know-how and help African countries establish a sustainable development model, enhance their independent development capacity, improve their public governance, and raise the quality of life of the African people. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, with new circumstances come new opportunities. China and Africa should embrace our proud tradition of sincere friendship and enhance mutual assistance and cooperation. To this end, I wish to make the following proposals. First, we must go for win-win cooperation based on equality. Both China and Africa should uphold the values of friendship, justice, and shared interests, bearing in mind their realities and each other's concerns, seek and expand convergent interests, and jointly build a community of shared future for China and Africa. Second, we must go for multilateral cooperation that is open and inclusive. Our world has already become a closely interconnected whole. We want to see an open and inclusive global economy and reject trade and investment protectionism. As China-Africa economic cooperation is open, companies from other countries are welcome to get involved on the basis of mutual benefit. Third, we must go for capacity cooperation for tangible results. China is ready to share, without any reservation, advanced applicable technologies with Africa and combine Chinese competitive industries with African needs to deepen industrial cooperation. This will help enhance the quality of the African workforce and create more jobs and strengthen Africa's internal drive for economic development. We will send more experts, set up more vocational training centers, and strengthen personnel training and entrepreneurial exchanges with Africa to earnestly meet African needs for well-trained personnel and capacity building in industrialization. Fourth, we must go for green, low-carbon, and sustainable development. As Africa boasts rich natural resources and a superb ecological environment, we should give top priority to sustainable development in China-Africa cooperation. We will launch projects for African countries to cope with climate change and better protect the ecological environment, train more African professionals in environmental protection, and help Africa embark on the path of green, low-carbon, and sustainable development. Fifth, we must go for priority cooperation with focus on the fundamental aspects. We will make an overall design for the all-round business cooperation between China and Africa, help African countries in farmland and water conservancy projects, strengthen transportation, infrastructure, and power supply, and support SMEs and programs of poverty reduction and people's welfare, thereby delivering tangible benefits of China-Africa cooperation to all the people. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, entrepreneurs are the main players in China-Africa business cooperation, as well as envoys of China-Africa friendship. I sincerely hope that Chinese and African entrepreneurs will shoulder the responsibility of all-round business cooperation, be prepared to blaze new trails and learn from each other, and work together to bring about a better future for the Chinese and African peoples. Thank you.
Mr. President, all that remains is for me to thank, first of all, Their Excellencies, the Presidents, for their very insightful remarks that we heard today, to thank also the business leaders for their very valuable reports that we heard today. I think that it's clear both from the leaders of our countries and our continents, as well as from the reports of the business people, that the doors are open, that in fact it's not just a question of a desire, but there's already a base in terms of existing cooperation and an opportunity to take that cooperation a great step further forward. I think that the message then is one that has recorded a very successful FOCAC business forum, and I want to thank my colleague, Minister Gao Hu Cheng and MOFCOM for their support and their co-work in making this forum a success. Everybody who participated in it over the last 2 days for the work which they did, and all of the officials that made all the logistical and organizational arrangements. Thank you very much indeed. So without any further ado, let me then declare this business forum now successfully closed. May I invite us to bid farewell to the top table as they leave, and to their excellencies in the front as they leave. Can we let them go and give them a warm farewell as they do so? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
You're watching SABC News, and that, of course, was the live crossing to the FOCAC summit that's underway in Sandton, north of Johannesburg. Well, in the last hour or so, we've heard 3 heads of state from South Africa, Zimbabwe and China really renewing their commitment to mutually beneficial ties between Africa and China. Of course, in News Just In, we're hearing that an arrest warrant has been issued for Oscar Pistorius. The National Prosecuting Authority says it plans to enforce that warrant as early as next week, when Pistorius is expected to apply for bail. Well, we'll bring you regular updates on that breaking story in our bulletins throughout the evening. But for now, from the News Today desk, it's bye-bye.